Hello, everybody. Welcome back to No Trailers Allowed, my movie and streaming show podcast where I do not watch trailers beforehand. I'm your host, Jersh. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find more episodes by visiting my website, superjersh.com. If you want to support me and get this podcast early and ad-free, you can visit patreon.com/superjersh. To watch the video version of this podcast, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/superjersh. To follow me on social media on Twitter and Instagram, I am at superjersh. To email me and be a part of the show with your questions, comments, or suggestions, my email address is notrailersallowed@gmail.com. I want to quickly thank Patreon executive producers Mirrors, Triss, and I Love Manatees. I also want to thank legendary Patreon producer Zelbinian. In this episode, I'm going to talk about my Oscars 2022 wants and predictions. If you are new around here, as I said, I do not watch trailers before I watch movies or streaming shows for this podcast. I also try not to read the plot synopsis or look up casting news. Once I get something on my radar that sounds interesting because I know somebody who's going to be involved in it or somebody tells me to check something out, I just seek it out and watch it and let the film or TV show or whatever it is speak for itself. So on this episode, there isn't anything to kind of review, but I do want to share. I have been watching several Oscar-nominated films over the last several weeks, and I have released reviews for them on my podcast. And I thought it would be fun to talk about some predictions for the Oscars, which is it's a pretty popular premise in movie world and film Twitter and film fans around the world. We like to pontificate and wonder what will happen. Anyway, so I thought I would record a quick episode here. I've got 12 categories selected where what I like to do is I share what I want to win and then I predict what I think will win. So I'll have an official prediction and we'll see if I got it right or got it wrong in a post-Oscars follow-up episode. But then I also actually share what I want to win, because sometimes what is my favorite thing is in my heart, I don't think will have like a general consensus or have a chance to win, but I still want to take this moment in this prediction opportunity or this prediction episode opportunity to share some of my favorite movies that I've been watching. It's strange. I only got into kind of like movie and streaming show reviewing heavily and regularly recently. I did it here and there and under my old podcast format last year. But this year, I've been forcing myself to stick with a lot of like just movies mainly. There actually hasn't been a ton of streaming shows that I've watched and reviewed on here, so maybe we'll make that its own separate thing too, or a Patreon exclusive thing or something. I don't know. Anyway, let's get to it. So I said 12 categories that I'm going to predict, leading all the way up to the big ones, including Best Actor and Actress and Cinematography, Best Director, Best Picture, things like that. So best costumes. I will also share which movies I've seen briefly as well. So the nominees in costume design are Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Nightmare Alley, and West Side Story. I have not seen Cruella or Cyrano. I have seen Dune, Nightmare Alley, and West Side Story. And what do I want to win? I want Nightmare Alley to win. But I think probably Dune will win. I think Dune is a little bit flashier. So I'll make a quick note here. I want Nightmare Alley. And I predict Dune. I really liked Nightmare Alley a lot. It was one of my favorite movies that I've seen in a really long time. Thankfully, I've liked a lot of the movies that I've watched recently. There's only been a couple that I've been lukewarm or straight up negative about. And I think when you don't watch movie trailers or don't know, and the story can speak for itself, I think you just genuinely find movies more enjoying because you haven't seen it all before you see it. So best film editing, the nominees are Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Power of the Dog, and Tick, Tick, Boom. The only movie I haven't seen in this category is King Richard. I've seen all of the other four. I think what I want to win here is probably Tick, Tick, Boom. Like when I think about the going back and forth And again, I guess potential spoilers for all of these movies, of course, at this point. If you haven't seen the movies, watch the movies, listen to my reviews, and then come back to the prediction episode. Um, something that I really appreciated in Tick Tick Boom was going back and forth between the live stage performance and like the film real life reenactment and the fancy cutting back and forth in between during a lot of the musical numbers, especially the therapy one where we're going back and forth between Andrew Garfield's fight with his girlfriend and then Andrew Garfield singing about the fight on stage and how he uses the things that happen in his life in his performances and in his creativity. I just thought there was a lot of really good, interesting editing decisions in Tick Tick Boom. Where do I think it will go? That's tough. Hmm. I'm going to say Don't Look Up. I feel like Don't Look Up is not going to win a ton of awards that it was nominated for because there's a lot of stiff competition this year. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Don't Look Up quite a bit, but I think that the kind of the comedy, dark comedy, farcical nature of it is going to maybe not hold up under scrutiny to the serious Oscar voters. So, but they are going to want to give it some love and recognition. And there was a lot to like about the editing in that movie as well, going back and forth between the different political camps and showing how the world was interacting and reacting to all of the news and them on TV and things like that. So I'm going to choose Want, Tick Tick Boom. What I actually think will win is Don't Look Up. Best music score. I'm not going to do original song because I haven't heard enough of the songs to want to predict there. So, best original score, we've got Don't Look Up, Dune, Encanto, Parallel Mothers, and The Power of the Dog. The only movie I haven't seen out of this list is Parallel Mothers. I actually have seen Encanto, but I did not do a full review of the movie. I did not do an episode of No Trailers Allowed for that one. I did watch it without seeing any trailers, of course. I was pretty lukewarm on that one though. That one would have been it's fine. Like the animation was gorgeous, but I thought the songs were not really as memorable of some of Lin-Manuel Miranda's other work, including, of course, Hamilton, the masterpiece, the apex, even Moana. I love the music in Moana. Just Encanto, it just didn't really work for me. There was not really a lot of an antagonist to work towards, and again, I said recently, you know, a lot of movies lately are character piece, meandering piece without a lot of plot or story or conflict, and I think Encanto is another example of that until like the very end. So, but what did I think of the musical score? I honestly don't remember it. So, what do I think is going to happen here? People really seem to be obsessing over the power of the dog, and I was pretty lukewarm on that one as well. But Johnny Greenwood is a fantastic musician, and I've loved the music that he has done with Paul Thomas Anderson in the past. So, and I personally felt like the Hans Zimmer score from Dune was like really forgettable. I love Hans Zimmer, but I couldn't tell you a melody or a moment from Dune. Um, so what do I want to win? I don't really have a dog in this fight, so I will say, hmm, I'd say Don't Look Up. We'll go with Don't Look Up. That's a movie that I did like quite a bit. What do I think is going to win? The Power of the Dog. Because that seems to be the favorite this year based on nominations. And also, Johnny Greenwood is an Oscars favorite from the past. I think he's won in the past as well. Best Adapted Screenplay. So the nominees here are Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, The Power of the Dog. So I've seen 3 of these movies. I've seen Coda, Dune, and The Power of the Dog. I have not seen The Lost Daughter or Drive My Car, unfortunately. Of course, I want Coda to win. I love Coda. It's one of my favorite movies I've seen in a really, really, really long time. So I want Coda. What do I think will win? Probably. God, the script in Coda was so good, so naturalistic. I'm gonna say Power of the Dog again. I'm doing this to put it out into there to the universe to give the Power of the Dog the smaller awards and save the big stuff for the movies that I want to win. So, best original screenplay not adapted. We have Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, The Worst Person in the World. I've heard got a lot of good things about The Worst Person in the World. I'm sad I wasn't able to see it before these predictions. So I can't really consider that. The only movies out of this list I've seen are Licorice Pizza and Don't Look Up. I do think this is where Paul Thomas Anderson is going to get some love. I don't think it has enough strength at the best picture level, but I think they're going to want to reward Paul Thomas Anderson. And the script was probably the best part about Licorice Pizza: the naturalistic dialogue, the variety of characters, and the variety of voices that you heard in it. I think that's what I predict will win. What would I want to win here? Probably Don't Look Up. I thought that it was smart, funny, informative, satirical, well paced. From the character standpoint, I guess. Unfortunately, yeah, the conflict of what's happening to the world at the beginning of the movie is the same thing about an hour and 20 minutes into it. But it was laugh out loud funny, and the actors Leo and Jennifer Lawrence and everybody around them really brought that stuff to life. Except for Timmy Charizard, we don't like him here. At least I don't. So I predict Licorice Pizza, but I want Don't Look Up to get some love there. Licorice Pizza. Best animated film. Where are you? Here we go. So we have Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells versus the Machines, Raya, and The Last Dragon. The only two I haven't seen here are Flea and Luca. I've seen Encanto, The Mitchells versus the Machines, Raya, and The Last Dragon. What do I think will win? The Mitchells versus the Machines. I think Lord and Miller, they produced Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which won a couple of years ago. The Mitchells versus the Machines was a very strong movie. It wasn't my favorite. It did have some problems that I didn't love, but it's a well-made. It's just a straight up solid movie. I think it kind of elevates itself out of animated, because if that movie was a live action movie, it would still be really, really good. Whereas some animated films kind of rely on the charm, rely on the art style, and kind of need to be this glossy thing to keep your attention. Whereas The Mitchells versus the Machine, the story, the characters, what happens, the kind of the slapstickness of it, felt like it could have been like a Will Ferrell movie if it were shot in real life. What do I want to win? Probably Mitchells versus the Machine. Yeah, I can't say anything about Luca or Flea. I wasn't really impressed by Encanto. Raya and the Last Dragon was okay, but you don't remember a lot about it after you see it. So, my first want and prediction: Mitchells versus the Machines. The Lord and Miller guys make really good movies. Cinematography: Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. So, The Tragedy of Macbeth is the only movie that I haven't seen out of this list. What do I want to win? Nightmare Alley. I love Nightmare Alley. What do I think will win? Either West Side Story or Dune. I don't think the cinematography is what you remember the most out of The Power of the Dog. It's my understanding that The Tragedy of Macbeth is a black and white movie, so that might help it a little bit. But, man, it's going to go to Dune or West Side Story, I feel like. Let me get my want written here. I want Nightmare Alley to win because that was one of my favorite movies. Watching lately. What do I think is going to win? I'm really afraid. Like, I pretty much didn't care for West Side Story at all, but the strength, the number one most impressive badass thing about that movie is the cinematography. The way it moves, the way that it brings energy, it brings 3 dimensions to a 2D medium, and how it's always moving, and the super long takes, and capturing the giant dance sequences smartly and informatively, letting you see all of the action as a viewer instead of relying on super cuts or cheats. But Dune is like this dark sci-fi epic, and even though Dune was a disappointment for me, the standouts there were the cinematography. I think it is literally a coin flip between West Side Story and Dune. I think this is where Dune gets some love. because Denis Villeneuve also did not get nominated as Best Director, which I think is a little bit of a snub. Even though the movie didn't really work for me, I thought it was directed really well. The actors, I think, had a consistent tone. The story was the pace that Denis wanted. The cinematography was very beautiful and memorable, even if the subject matter of it wasn't necessarily that great or memorable for me personally. But I think this is where Dune gets some love over West Side Story, because giant sci-fi spaceships and sandworms are a little bit more memorable and impressionable than the beautiful dance numbers in West Side Story. So here we go. We're at the back half now. Best Supporting Actress. Okay. Got Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Judi Dench for Belfast, Kirsten Dunst for Power of the Dog, Ingenue Elise for King Richard. So the only movies that I've seen in this category are West Side Story and The Power of the Dog. I think they already did kind of like a Lifetime Achievement Award for Judi Dench to give her some recognition. Again, when I'm thinking about the predictions versus the wants, I kind of think about the politics of the process and what have the Oscars done historically as far as I've noticed and paid attention to, and how is that going to play into this year, that kind of thing. I thought Ariana DeBose was amazing. She was great as a very limited performer in Hamilton. And in West Side Story, I thought she was one of the better parts of the cast. I just don't think Kirsten Dunst was in The Power of the Dog enough to win this thing. She's almost, especially in the second half of that movie, she's almost a non-character. She whispers and cries a couple of times. Come on. I think West Side Story here. I want Ariana DeBose to win, and I predict Ariana DeBose to win. I thought that the singing and the dancing, along with the acting, along with the beautiful costuming in the movie, I think are going to work together to help her. Plus, yeah, she had some emotional weightlifting in that movie that a lot of the other cast had to do. I mean, she's more, in my opinion, she is more memorable as Anita than Tony and Maria were at all. So I want Ariana DeBose. Predict. Did you know that if you support me on patreon.com/superjersh, you can get this podcast early and ad-free? You probably didn't know that because you're listening to this promotion right now. Which means you also probably didn't know that there are dozens of hours of Patreon exclusive content over there, like full album music reactions and full movie watch-along commentaries. So head on over to patreon.com/superjersh to help the music and movie discussions continue. And for you gamers out there, don't forget to check out my gaming-focused YouTube channel, youtube.com/jershplays. Recently, I've been focusing on Guild Wars 2, Overwatch, and Fortnite, but there are also dozens of hours of gameplay videos for single-player games like Detroit Become Human and the Resident Evil series. Subscribe to that channel ASAP. It's free and helps a lot. Speaking of free, if Patreon isn't your thing, make sure you are liking the posts, commenting, sharing, rating, and reviewing, and subscribing everywhere that you can if you enjoy anything that I produce, music, movie, or gaming related. The only way it can continue is with your help. If this is all too much to remember and you want to see the different types of content I'm producing all in one place, just visit my website, superjersh.com. Do you think they're going to give it to Kirsten Dunst? I don't want them to, so I'm not going to put it out there into the universe. We're going with Ariana DeBose. Let's give it to her. All right. Best Supporting Actor. Got Ciarán Hinds in Belfast, Troy Kotsur in Coda, Jesse Plemons in The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons in Being the Ricardos, Cody Smith-McPhee in The Power of the Dog. Jesus Christ. 2 of them in The Power of the Dog? Get out of here. And J.K. Simmons, his his portrayal in Whiplash is like an all-timer. I kind of feel like he already got. It's not that you can't. People win multiple Oscars all the time, but it is like it's a small percentage of a small percentage, and so like when that it has been earned, it's kind of like the nominations are what you get going forward. Like the actual wins are like really tough to come by. Man, I love Coda. I I honestly like. I'm gonna choose want Troy Kotzer just because uh, anything Coda can win, I probably want it to win. That is a really special movie to me, and it worked on me on basically all levels that movies can work on human beings. So even though, um, well, I don't know. I mean, as far as Coda, that cast, all of those actors, I did not think of them as actors. It just felt like a family. And so I think because it was so effortless and so realistic, I'm probably not giving that actor enough credit. So, yeah, we're going to go with Troy here. What do I think is going to win? Probably Jesse Plemons, unfortunately. Because I enjoy him as an actor. I've enjoyed him ever since I saw him as Philip Seymour Hoffman's son in The Master, which again, great casting. They really looked alike at the time. And I'm enjoying seeing his career blossom, and I'm very happy for him. I haven't personally seen anything from him, including The Power of the Dog, that is like knock my socks off. We've got an actor here. I haven't seen that for me. Okay, Best Actress in a Leading Role. Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter. Penelope Cruz in Parallel Mothers. Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos. Kristen Stewart for Spencer. Fuck Twilight. This is the only category so far where I haven't seen a single movie, so these are just going to be blind guesses, I suppose. Kristen Stewart. I've heard that Being the Ricardos is mixed. I haven't heard anything about Spencer. I didn't even know that movie existed until I read that nomination right now. Olivia Colman, I think, was nominated a couple of years ago and won for The Favorite, so I don't think it's going to come back to her. So I will say want and predict Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I don't know anything about that movie either. I think wasn't Tammy Faye. I think she was a famous televangelist, if I recall. So maybe it's some sort of biopic, and biopics are good for awards season as well. So I'm making notes of these things too. So we'll go Jessica Chastain. Best actor. We've got Ciarán Hinds in Belfast. Wait, no, that's actor in a supporting role. Hang on. Actor in a leading role. Here we go. Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos. Benedict Cumberbatch, The Power of the Dog. Andrew Garfield, Tick, Tick, Boom. Will Smith, King Richard. Denzel Washington, Tragedy, Macbeth. I've only seen The Power of the Dog and Tick, Tick, Boom out of this group. Haven't heard much about King Richard. Denzel has won a lot. I think this is new territory for Andrew Garfield. For Tick Tick Boom, Andrew Garfield was my favorite part of that movie, especially when they showed the footage of the guy at the end, and I saw how he matched the mannerisms, how he kind of matched the intensity and passion, and how the hair was on point, and how he did do his own singing. I still don't know if he did his own playing on the piano because they never really advertised that in the movie. You never see any wide shots of Andrew Garfield then pan down to his hands like you do in like Ryan Gosling in La La Land. I want this for Andrew Garfield. He was a good Spider-Man in bad Spider-Man movies, and he works hard. I've seen a couple of interviews from the guy. I've got a good feeling about him. I want, as much good as you can want for successful and happy millionaire, perfect human beings that live lives you will never live, which is what we're doing here. It's fun to watch rich people be naughty. I want good things for Andrew Garfield. Seems like a good guy. Who do I think will win? Bandersnatch here. Benedict. Power of the Dog is who I think is going to get it, though, unfortunately. Which I just felt like he was doing a worse version of what Heath Ledger did 10 years ago, 15 now. Jesus Christ. Best Director. Boom, 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 boom. Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. I know he directed that. Drive My Car, Ryusuke Hamaguchi, Licorice Pizza, PTA, Power of the Dog, Jane Campion, West Side Story, Steven Spielberg. I gotta go with my man Spielberg on this one. This is what I want him to win, and this is what I think will win. He's won a lot of Oscars in his life, but it's time for another one. Like, the camera, again, the staging of sequences and the camera movements and the decisions made, I disagree with the commitment to just make a 50s movie today. I wish it was a different take. But once you make that decision and that commitment, I don't think you could have shot a better version of it. And I don't know, like, based on the material that you had, if anybody would have done it better than Steven Spielberg. I think, yeah, Steven Spielberg, I want and I predict. Okay, last category, Best Picture. Where are you hiding, Best Picture? Where did you go? Do you exist at all? There it is. It's like in the middle of the pack. Not at the start, not at the end, somewhere in the middle, and oh, by the way, the top prize. We've got Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. I've seen the majority of these movies. The only movies I haven't seen are Belfast, Drive My Car, and King Richard. I've seen Coda, Don't Look Up, Dune, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. I mean, as of right now, like Nightmare Alley and Coda are my two favorite movies that I've seen in a really long time. Actually, while we're on the subject of movies that I really like, I really enjoyed The Green Knight and I really enjoyed House of Gucci. And let's talk about snubs really quick before I predict Best Picture here. It's bullshit that Lady Gaga didn't get nominated as Best Actress because she's fucking incredible in House of Gucci. And it's bullshit that The Green Knight didn't at least get a cinematography nod because that's what I would have wanted and that's what I would have predicted. The cinematography and the shots and the compositions and moments in The Green Knight are way more memorable and impactful and skillful than anything that I saw in Dune or West Side Story. Like The Green Knight, that is the word snub exists because The Green Knight didn't get nominated for Best Cinematography. Like a nomination. Come on. Like the Power of the Dog got nominated and it's mountains and cows, right? Have I got that right? Anyway. House of Gucci definitely deserved Lady Gaga and yeah, The Green Knight. Maybe even Best Score too. Those are good movies. Best Picture. Like if I were picking my personal Best Picture, it would come down to The Green Knight and Coda. Out of the nominees, it comes down to Nightmare Alley and Coda. Nightmare Alley is a slicker movie with more memorable cinematography and maybe heightened stakes in the third act as far as like the conflict and the characters. It's like literally life or death. People could live or die. There's no life or death situations in Coda, but there is impactful changes to life. That's something that I appreciate about it is how much I cared, even though it wasn't New York's gonna blow up or the world's gonna end or these 50 hostages are gonna die or whatever. Like it wasn't that. It was just literally my family's changing and then things are never gonna be the same again, and that fucking got to me. So I gotta go with Coda. I'm like welling up thinking about it. Blah, 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 blah. Coda is what I want to win Best Picture. Do I think will win Best Picture? Dune doesn't have enough going on outside of the visuals. I have not heard enough about King Richard's King Richard or Drive My Car to have an opinion. I think Don't Look Up was, again, too comedic and smarmy a little bit to take home the big prize. I think Licorice Pizza probably had too much drama around some of the decisions, around some of the characters, rightly so. Um, it's probably going to come down to, and Nightmare Alley, that kind of came and went and flopped, and nobody really talked about it. It doesn't have a lot of other nominations, and I don't think Guillermo del Toro was nominated for director, which he probably should have been. I think Nightmare Alley. I have not watched Pan's Labyrinth since it came out. I should probably rewatch it. But I thought Nightmare Alley was a hell of a lot better than The Shape of Water, and I thought The Shape of Water was pretty good. Like Nightmare Alley is one of, if not Guillermo del Toro's best movies. I really liked it. But again, uh, it was a little dark and bloody and moody. And Guillermo del Toro just won for Best Director and Best Picture a couple of years ago for The Shape of Water. So I think it's going to come down to The Power of the Dog or West Side Story. I really don't want. What West Side Story has going against it is the love story that is supposed to be the heart of the West Side Story is a complete miss. Like there's no chemistry between the two leads, and Ansel Elgort like has, again, no screen presence or charisma. I don't understand. I don't. Again, personal opinions about movies and Oscars aren't personal attacks on human beings. Live your life. I'm happy you're successful. As a viewer of movies and a lover of movies, I have yet to understand the appeal of that specific performer. Just like Timmy Charizard. Which I'm saying as a joke because it's been a long running joke for like almost 2 years on my podcast. So if you're new, calm down. What West Side Story has going for it is it's directed by Steven Spielberg. The cinematography is really good. The dance sequences are very good as far as dance sequences go, and it has the music of from a stage play turned film that won 10 Academy Awards 60 years ago. So people like this movie and these characters and this music. What it has going against it is all of that stuff has been done before. It's a remake. Now, A Star is Born was a remake, but I don't know, did it separate itself? I've never seen the old A Star is Borns. I guess if you think about it, though, I do know that the general premises were the same, and that didn't seem to hurt A Star is Born because we really liked those actors and that music. They did update it, though. Like A Star is Born was a modern retelling. It was a pop star and a country rock star told in the modern era. It wasn't, let's do A Star is Born again and do the 1960s version the way that West Side Story is. Let's just do another 50s movie. Yeah, I think it's going to go to The Power. No, I don't know, man. This one's tough. And I think 9 out of 10 times whoever wins director wins picture. I think I'm going with West Side Story. I changed my mind because I don't want the power of the dog. I would rather be wrong and put the energy into the universe that West Side Story is going to win. Even though I didn't particularly like any of those, I want Coda to win, but I know it's going to come down to those two movies. It's either going to be The Power of the Dog or West Side Story because of the consensus of the Academy and how many awards they each got nominated for and the talent behind it, right? And I do think that Benedict Cumberbatch was the best part of The Power of the Dog, which is why I predicted him for Best Actor. But I think for movie, I think when you think about the characters, the camera work, that memorable music that everybody loves, like the fact that it was eligible to be nominated, even though it's a remake, and it got nominated for so many awards, means people are not going to hesitate to give it the awards because they nominated them to receive them. So I think Spielberg's going to get director and picture. I'm going to be bummed. I would gladly be wrong about my prediction. If Coda won Best Picture, I'd lose my fucking mind. I love that movie. I love that movie. I would rewatch Coda 10 out of 10 times over West Side Story, probably. But yeah. yeah, that was a fun little predictions episode. It's been a while since I've done a predictions episode like this, and it's been a while since I've recorded one by myself. I think the last time, Oscars last year, I had my friend Gunyer on, who's coming into town very soon at the time of this recording to help me make my own short film. So at the time, I said this in the Discord. It was either a good decision or a bad decision to watch a bunch of Oscar-nominated films when I'm trying to make my own short film, because it can either be like really demoralizing if they are amazing and you think that you're a piece of shit, or if they are not as good as they are hyped up to be, and you can kind of reinvigorate yourself and say, yeah, I deserve to tell stories too. I can do this shit. So it's weird. It's fun. Yeah, it's funny to be working on my own short film on the weekend that the Oscars are happening. So yeah, that's going to do it for my predictions for the Oscars 2022. Wherever you are watching or listening to this podcast, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review, and keep your notifications on so that you don't miss my post-Oscars follow-up to find out what I got right, what I got wrong, and if the things that I wanted came to fruition. If you enjoy this podcast and want to find more episodes, you can visit my website, superjersh.com. If you want to support me and get the podcast early and ad-free, you can visit me on patreon.com/superjersh. To see the video version of this podcast, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/superjersh. To follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter and Instagram @superjersh. To email me and be a part of the show with your questions, comments, or suggestions. Let me know what you think is going to win, what you want to win, and what you will predict will win. I'm curious. And after the Oscars happen, email me, let me know what your thoughts were, and if we can catch the email before I record the post episode, maybe I'll include the email in the episode. Again, that email address is NoTrailersAllowed@gmail.com. I am on Spotify and iTunes, so if you use those services, make sure you rate and review the podcast to help me find an audience. The internet is a very crowded place. As always, thank you for watching or listening. Until next time.